I'm out here at my range facility to take a little bit of time to do a verbal discussion of these laser range-finding binoculars that I acquired well over a year ago. And I bought these over a year ago and I already wrote a review, but I figure it's a good enough time to talk about it after a year of ownership. And these are the SIG KILO6K-HD Compact laser rangefinder binoculars with ballistics 8x32. And so I bought these because I wanted an all-in-one unit with in a binocular with a laser rangefinder for field use. And I figured eventually I start shooting some field matches and it'd be nice to have that speed of getting glassing, finding targets, and then having laser all built in to get my data without having to switch between my SIG KILO8K, which I don't have with me, and my standalone binoculars, which are my NL Pure 12x42s. So I can work those, in combination, but then it'd be, I feel it's being more convenient to have an all-in-one. And during my research and trying to figure out, hey, which one should I try out or get, I didn't know what to get because at the time, it felt like there was so many compromises in the features that I felt like I would be making the wrong decision in either way, in any case, because I wouldn't get anything that's perfect. And so I figured, why not get these? Because these 6Ks I could get for a lower price, a very low price that is going to be low risk, and it won't hurt me too bad if financially if I bought them and I didn't like them. So full disclosure, I did get these at a discounted price to the 6-hour NRA instructor program, which is significantly lower than your retailer price, the street prices, or the MSRP for that matter. And so that's why I felt that these were an okay buy at the time. And so let's go ahead and discuss specs. And so, as I mentioned, the price, I got them for a discounted price, but the MSRP at the time I'm discussing, this is $1199.99 or $1,200. So $1,200 as of October 2023. I think last year they were $100 less, but I've seen the price fluctuate like $100 like up or down, and it's just weird. I don't know what's up with SIG pricing, but in retailers, but it constantly fluctuates. So if you're shopping for SIG optical units or products, I think you should wait and watch for the dips. Field of view, we have 7.6 degrees, which equates to about 400 feet at 1,000 yards. It weighs 26.1 ounces without the battery. It's a CR2 battery, which is pretty much used in all laser rangefinders at this point. And it gets you about 4,000 ranges, so you can hit the range button 4,000 times and it should get you that much lifetime on the battery. Dimensions, 5.7 inches long, I guess, and then 5 inches wide if you expand the barrel or the bridge, and then you have 2.2 inches tall. The color of these things, they claim it's OD green, the rubber armor coating on this. It's green. I don't know if it's OD green, but it's OD green. OLED display in the HUD in the right barrel. And then as far as the laser itself, they claim 6,000 yards for the reflective, 3,000 yards for trees, and 2,500 yards for deer. I will say that trees, we're going to reflective, sorry, we'll start reflective. 6,000 yards, I was able to get like cars. It had to be perfectly flat though. If it's like curved objects, I wasn't getting distance data. But in ideal conditions, or sorry, not ideal, but standard conditions, I was getting about 5,800 yards. I didn't think I got a 6,000 yard reading that I would have called accurate. Trees, 3,000 yards. Yeah, in average conditions, I was getting about to 2,900 yards. So that's pretty close. Deer, I didn't have any deer to laze to get a sampling on that. But on non-reflective objects that are like brick walls and stuff, and maybe even people walking around, I was getting about to 2,200 yards. So I think it's close, as far as what they claim it to be. And I'm not too much of a stickler to 6,000 yards. I don't really need to, get 6,000 yard ranges. Last item of note here, we do have, other features. We do have environmental sensors built in. So if you look on the bridge here, there is a hole, which you probably won't be able to see on camera, but there's a hole on the bridge. That's where the environmental sensors are located, and it gets you your temperature, humidity, and it'll calculate density, altitude. And if you can see here, we do have a 1/4 inch 20 tripod mount threaded into the bridge. I do have it hooked up to this Vortex binocular tripod adapter with a stud. So that's just your standard 1/4 inch 20 threaded adapter. Anything else to mention here on the features? I think that's it. So let's dive into the pros and cons. Pros. First off, it's compact. It's relatively compact. I mean, it's not lightweight, and I mean, it's 26 ounces, but it's pretty compact, mainly because of the height of it, I guess, or the length of it, if you want to call it that. You know, I'm trying to get this thing to move there, and then it is shorter in that regard. I mean, the width, I mean, if I expand the bridges out, it's probably gonna be about the same width. And then the height, that's, I don't know, it's how tall it is in terms of that. They're about the same if you don't count this headrest on my NL Pures, but it's relatively compact. That's why they call it the compact. As far as other pros here, I did say the field of view is really good. I mean, it is 400 feet at 1,000 yards or 7.6 degrees. It's what you should expect out of an 8X or an 8 power binocular. So you get a nice wide image or field of view. It has a good to really good laser rangefinder. As I mentioned earlier, it does get out to distance, but as far as being able to get onto a specific smaller object, I've been able to get distance data relatively quickly and easily. So I think that's probably the biggest pro for most SIG laser rangefinders, is the fact that their laser rangefinders are pretty good quality compared to other lasers out there. I mentioned it does have ballistics built in. It's applied ballistics. You do have applied ballistics in the device so that when you do get a distance to target, it will give you elevation and windage data based on your gun profile that you load into the binocular. So how do you get let's quickly go to how you get your data in here, your gun profiles in here. There is an app on the phone. Basically Bluetooth, sync it up to the binocular, loads up your profiles. Your gun profiles will have like your bullet data, you know, ballistic coefficients, etc., and then your velocities, and then that'll be used in the solver. Once you get a distance, it'll then use that with the environmentals and tell you, okay, hey, you need 3.1 mils or whatever for that distance. Something crawling around there. I don't know what's distracting me. I think there's a squirrel or something. It is AB light though, but we'll get into that in a moment. So AB light, applied ballistics light is built in. I mentioned we do have the environmental sensors built in, so that combines with the solver, which is a good feature there. It does pair with a Kestrel. So if you want to use your Kestrel with this, you can get live windage data loaded into here at any given time. And then when you get your distance, you can get not only your elevation, but your windage real-time data. But that kind of factors in later when I talk about the cons, why the pairing with the Kestrel. The blue tint, I'm going to mention as a pro. So before I say why it's a pro, the blue tint is a notorious characteristic of pretty much every SIG laser rangefinder or any SIG binocular with a laser built into it. And that blue tint is basically this tint in the image where everything looks blue. Why is that there? There's that HUD or that LED display in the binocular or the laser rangefinder where without that blue, the red LED is harder to read. So SIG wants it to be legible, and so they have this bluish tint. It's something we have to deal with. And is it good? Well, it's good that it helps you read your display. Is it bad? Yes, it's bad because it makes your image look like crap. So I've seen the SIG KILO6K, which is their flagship laser rangefinder binocular. And those unit to unit have a lot of difference. It's not as consistent in terms of which ones will have blue tint and which ones won't. But they all do, but some are worse than others. Now, do the SIG KILO6Ks have the blue tint? Yes. However, it doesn't look blue. What it's going to look like is it's going to look like your image is darker than it normally would be. And some will argue that, oh, it could be exit pupil because these are 8x32s, not 8x42s. Your exit pupil is a little bit smaller. But I think 8x32 is almost equivalent to, like, say, a 10x42 in terms of exit pupil. I could be wrong. But I don't think exit pupil is the issue here. I think it really is that blue tint, and it just makes your image look darker. So it's a pro in that your image is not blue, but it is a con, which we're getting into, in that it's a pro that your image isn't blue, and it's a con that your image is darker. So I don't know, take that with a grain of salt. But now that we're going to cons, let's get to AB Light. So I mentioned it is applied ballistics, but it's applied ballistics light. What does that mean? It means that it's a crippled version of the software where if you laze anything beyond 800 yards, you're not going to get ballistics data. So if you laze anything before 800 yards or closer to 800 yards, it'll tell you, oh yeah, you need 3.2 mils, 4.7 mils, whatever. It's going to return that data to you. But if you raise something 850 yards, it's going to just give you 850 and that's it. It's not going to tell you, oh, you need 6 point something mils or 8, whatever your dope is going to be. So a lot of people don't like that. Oh, AB Light's not good because I want my ballistics data whenever I laser range find anything. However, hunters won't care because, well, hunters will care less because beyond 800 yards, they're not taking a shot anyway. So that's not a big deal to them. Long range competition shooters, they might care because they're going to lay something out to 1100 yards, 1300 yards, and they want to have that ballistics data. So that is a con. However, let's go back quickly to the fact that you compare it with your Kestrel. Pair it with your Kestrel. If you pair it with a Kestrel and you put it in external mode, it will give you your ballistics data if you laze something beyond 800 yards. So if you have an external mode, pair it with Kestrel, hit your range button, and it ranges 1067 yards. It will return the ballistics data in the HUD. So that is not too bad of a con, but it is a con that you do need to get a Kestrel and you need to get paired up and you have all these moving parts or extra pieces to the whole puzzle to get that data on your binocular. My specific unit, a con, is the focus knob. Focus knob is kind of chattery. Well, not chattery. It's smooth, but inconsistently smooth. And you can sometimes hear it and it seems like there's rubbing in there. Compared to my other binoculars, like my NL Pures, totally not a big, not an issue. These are 100% perfectly smooth, and it's just so nice to use these binoculars. But on the 6Ks, you can use them. You're not gonna, if you've never tried other binoculars, you're not gonna really notice it. But for me, I can tell that, hey, this knob is not all that great. It's smooth, but yeah, I don't really know how to describe it. It doesn't feel good to me. Lens covers. You'll notice I don't have any lens covers on them. Why? Because they're absolutely garbage. I wrote about them in my article, and they're just basic rubber covers that go over there. They slip fit on, they're held on, and you got a little tab, and you can just pop them off and they'll hang. However, they are so loose fitting that any movement whatsoever and they'll just pop off. Put them in a harness like this and you pull them out, they're going to pop off immediately. But if you're just walking around, you have the lens covers on, and if you just maybe kind of maybe you're walking or you're moving really fast or running fast, or if you just kind of shook them, they'll just pop off. And I don't understand how they could make them so poorly. And so I just take them off because they're just absolutely worthless. That's what I'll have them on. The LCD as a con in terms of, it's a slight con. So the LCD is not as good as the SIG KILO6K, which I have, but I don't have them with me. That has that active matrix display, which is gorgeous. And the 10Ks have that active matrix display. Same one, where it returns all your data on there. You get your distance, your angle modified distance, your angle to target. You got your gun profile name, your ballistics data, your elevation, windage. It'll give you your density, altitude, all your environmental data, all on one screen. And it is absolutely gorgeous. And that's why everyone likes the 10Ks, because of that HUD is beautiful. However, the 6Ks don't have it. They have your standard LCD and your LED display, OLED display, and where it returns only your distance on one target or one screen, and then it'll give you your elevation and then your windage on the next display. So you get your distance, angle to target on one screen, 2-second cycle. It'll go to the elevation, 2-second cycle, and it'll go to windage. So it's going to be this constant 2-second cycle for about 4 cycles or so, and then it stops. And so a lot of people don't like that in terms of the fact that it will be slower to get your readouts. I think if you're willing to wait on your screens, it's fine, but people want it all fast, and they don't want to have to worry about you know, waiting on the unit to give you that reading. So I guess that's a con. I can deal with it, but I felt that getting a distance getting a range and getting the data, it comes back pretty quickly. It's less than a second. But to cycle through that and you have to wait 2 seconds, cycle, 2 seconds, cycle. Some people may not like that. And one other con I want to mention is the angle. So it does have angle to target. However, my angle, the level in this, I think it's off on mine. And I think it's off by 1 degree. So I've tested this. I've set it up where I set it on a level platform and it still says it's like -1 degree. It's not 0 degree. I've went on flat ground, 100% flat concrete pads, 25 to 35 yards, measured something off the ground, and I measured and put my binoculars same height off the ground, and they're supposed to be 100% level, but yet it still says it's -1 degrees. I don't know how big of a deal that is in my solver, but it is there. So you can't reset the level. So you can't use the app and say, okay, I'll set my binocular up. Let's call this 0. You can't do that. I wish you could. That would be great. And one other last con on that same regard with the app, you cannot line up your reticle and your laser. So for those of you who don't know, SIGs have had inconsistencies in terms of the reticle and the laser not being in line. So the 8Ks are great in terms of you can actually adjust it. So you can you can use the app to move the reticle in the display so that it's actually going to be more in line with the laser. You just set up a target out there, laser range find, and see if it's on. And if it's off, then you can just adjust with the app. You can't do that with the 6Ks. There's no feature that I looked, you can't do it. However, these ones are relatively in line, but again, the inconsistencies from unit to unit where the laser and the reticle don't match up, that could be a con. So the fact that you can't move it in the app, I think that's a negative. Now let's discuss the one big negative. That's the optical quality. The optical quality is mediocre at best. In ideal conditions, sorry, there's something flying around. In ideal conditions, it's okay. You're gonna be able to glass, and I think you're gonna be fine. But in average to less than average conditions, like below average, you're gonna notice that it's hazy, it's not as crisp, and the fall off edge to edge is gonna be really bad, and it just comes out to you in terms of how bad that image is. Especially early in the morning, haze, bright sun, humidity, close range. Anything under 150, for some reason, the image is not clear. We notice this in rimfire matches. I usually have these on rimfire matches. I have 2 binoculars set up so we can see all the target arrays all in one spot. I've noticed that the fall off is pretty bad in terms of the image, especially at the edges and even center. It's so hard to find clarity. Depth of field is probably not as wide as it needs to be or as deep as it needs to be. So you're going to be constantly moving around trying to find the perfect image in less than ideal conditions. What can you do about this? Not really much. I mean, that's just a compromise we're making in terms of this whole unit. And so that's kind of my big detractor on this laser rangefinding binocular unit. And one reason why I don't recommend these. So let's just dive into my recommendation. Should you buy the SIG KILO6K 8x32 compacts? I would say take a pass, especially at the price. If you can find these for the lower price, and I will go ahead and publicly say that I paid just over $600 for these. It's not a secret. I don't think SIG has banned anyone from saying what the price is, because you can publicly go look and see what the SIG instructor discount price is. But I paid $600, a little bit over $600. At that price, it's okay. It's a decent buy. At $1,000 or $1,200, I'm going to say it's not a good purchase, in my opinion. I don't want to be harsh in saying this, but that's just the way I feel about it. I think it's too much to get for mediocre glass. The laser rangefinder is really good. I would say it's really good, and it's on par with the 8Ks in terms of what you're going to get in terms of a laser laser range finding capability, but as far as optical quality, you're not going to have very good results, in my opinion. And you're going to want other binoculars for having that observation capability. But if you want speed and ease of use, then having the standalone laser rangefinder and binocular might not be for you, because I feel like getting a good 8K, like the SIG KILO6K, and getting a standalone binocular probably be the better option in terms of not making compromises. But you make that, I guess you do make a compromise in the fact that you have 2 units and you have to switch between the 2. So what would I recommend at this point? It's hard to say because that price point is hard. I mean, there really isn't much there. But I would just say that you might want to go ahead and step up to Vortex Fury, the AB, Vortex Fury 5000 ABs, which they don't make anymore. When I say they don't make anymore, because they moved from Applied Ballistics to Geo Ballistics. But you can get the Vortex Fury HDs with ballistics built in a laser rangefinder, which is going to be a decent laser rangefinder and a decent binocular. It's not going to be the best binocular, it's not going to be the best laser rangefinder, but you're going to have a decent mix of the 2 with ballistics at a slightly higher price point than these MSRP. So that's kind of where I would stand on this. I just have a hard time. I know I'm like just sitting here trying to justify why you should or should not buy this, but I feel that especially at $1,100, I just can't recommend these. And after a year of use, I am going to hang on to these because these are still decent enough to use, where if I had to use these in a just as a field binocular, I could use them, especially for backups. But I did end up buying these. And if you notice the hat I'm wearing today, Swarovski, these are the Swarovski EL Range TA 10x42s, which I'm putting through their paces. And right now I'm very, very, very happy with these from an optical standpoint, and I'm not unhappy from a laser range-finding standpoint and ballistic standpoint quite yet. So I know that everyone looks at these alpha glass and whether or not these are going to be as good as the SIGs in terms of laser range-finding capabilities, but I will tell you these are way better than the SIGs in terms of optical quality. So I went from great laser rangefinder to bad optics to known good or great optics with still to be determined laser range-finding capabilities and ballistics. But everyone I've spoken to said these are going to be good in those regards. Are they as good as SIGs? Who knows? But that's kind of my opinion on these. I know it's kind of a vague way of to me saying that I don't recommend these, but at a certain price point, you could make the sacrifice and just go ahead and go with these. But again, I paid $600 for these, and at $600, I felt whatever, right? It's not terribly expensive, and I got a great laser rangefinder with binocular capabilities. They're not great binoculars, but I do have observation capabilities. So take that as you will. In any case, thanks for watching this video. I know I'm kind of long, but I went through the pros, the cons, my opinions of this binocular, what you might want to look at instead. If you need any more information that I may be able to answer for you, or like questions that you want to ask me, feel free to comment in the video comments, and I'll try to address those as best I can. And if you want to read my article, which I wrote a year ago, I'll post that in the video description. Check that out. But that's pretty much it for these SIG KILO6Ks. Thanks for watching. And again, reach out if you have any questions.